possession was a really good defensive possession, and they played to the third side, and Boston hit that three. But you got to sprint back. You got to find Clark and Mitchell early in the shot clock, and in the second and third quarter, like you mentioned, we just weren't good enough defensively, but also offensively. We're putting a lot of pressure on our defense. Just with we didn't make shots tonight at the level that we needed to. I'm pretty sure we held them under their average. They're pretty
good defensive possession, and pretty high octane offense. So there was one statement that immediately stood out after this heated battle between the Phoenix Mercury and the Indiana Fever. While most of the attention centered around the physicality, the fourth quarter tension, and the non-stop discussion surrounding Caitlin Clark, Nate Tibbetts revealed something far more important. Nate Tibbetts wasn't talking about referees. Nate Tibbetts wasn't talking about controversy. Nate Tibbetts wasn't talking about social media narratives. Nate Tibbetts was talking about the challenge of defending Caitlin Clark. When Nate Tibbetts specifically mentioned needing to locate Caitlin Clark early in the shot clock, it highlighted something every WNBA opponent has been forced to acknowledge. Caitlin Clark isn't simply another guard. Caitlin Clark changes defensive schemes before the possession even begins. That is where Alyssa Thomas enters the story. Alyssa Thomas has spent years building a reputation as one of the toughest and smartest competitors in professional basketball. When Alyssa Thomas discusses adjustments, physicality, and energy, those comments carry weight because Alyssa Thomas understands exactly how playoff-style basketball is won. Now both Alyssa Thomas and Nate Tibbetts are preparing for another showdown with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. And after a game that featured emotional swings, momentum shifts, crowd energy, and escalating tensions, their comments painted a picture of something much bigger. This wasn't merely about one loss. This wasn't merely about one game. This was about a growing realization around the league that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are becoming a problem that opponents must solve every single possession. And according to Nate Tibbetts and Alyssa Thomas, the answers aren't coming easy.
I think these are fun games to get in. It got a little chippy in the fourth. I'm sure they'll remember it, and I know we'll remember it too.
How do you try and get the team refocused after what happened during the fourth quarter and get everybody back centered and trying?
Yeah, we've got a competitive group, a veteran group. They've been around this for a long time. They're not afraid of the smoke. We're going to compete at a high level, and you just stay with it and keep playing.
Max getting in foul trouble early, how much did that affect?
These are fun games to get. Getting in foul trouble early, the first major storyline revolves around Nate Tibbetts openly acknowledging the intensity surrounding this matchup. When Nate Tibbetts described the contest as a fun game before immediately referencing the fourth quarter physicality, he effectively admitted what everyone watching already knew. This game felt different. The Indiana Fever are no longer being treated like an inexperienced rebuilding team. The presence of Caitlin Clark has completely changed the environment. Every possession involving Caitlin Clark forces defenses into uncomfortable decisions. Do you pressure Caitlin Clark beyond the three-point line? Do you trap Caitlin Clark? Do you switch? Do you hedge? Do you force the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands? Each option creates a new vulnerability. That is why Nate Tibbetts emphasized defensive execution throughout his media session. The Mercury entered the game with a plan. The problem was that Caitlin Clark constantly forces opponents to abandon their original plan. When Caitlin Clark pushes pace, defenses scramble. When Caitlin Clark spots a mismatch, rotations become stressed. When Caitlin Clark starts moving without the basketball, defenders must communicate perfectly. The challenge becomes even greater for a veteran star like Alyssa Thomas, because Alyssa Thomas understands that every mistake against Caitlin Clark can become an immediate scoring opportunity. Alyssa Thomas repeatedly focused on energy, execution, and attention to detail. Those aren't random coaching cliches. Those are the exact categories that tend to break down when facing elite offensive creators. And when those details disappear, Caitlin Clark punishes teams quickly. The fallout from this matchup extends beyond one game because every future opponent will study how Phoenix attempted to contain Caitlin Clark. The question is whether anyone can consistently execute that strategy for 40 full minutes.
During what got to be a pretty chippy, I'm not asking for specifics. What I'm asking is, knowing that the emotion of that crowd and of that team, it was all going to, at some point, come to that point. What can you do Wednesday to make sure? I'm not asking you to talk about tonight in that respect, but just to make sure it doesn't happen on Wednesday. That's it.
Just going to focus on it.
Blue?
That's it.
Okay. Question for you, Blue.
Floor during what got. Focus on blue okay question. One of the most fascinating elements of this story is the psychological pressure created by Caitlin Clark. Alyssa Thomas has played in enormous games. Alyssa Thomas has played under playoff pressure. Alyssa Thomas has experienced hostile environments. Yet even she repeatedly emphasized focus. That word matters, because Caitlin Clark creates a unique challenge unlike many previous stars. Historically, great scorers could dominate a game. Great point guards could control tempo. Great shooters could stretch defenses. Caitlin Clark combines all three. That combination places tremendous mental strain on opponents. Alyssa Thomas understands that one possession of lost concentration can lead to a deep three-pointer. One delayed rotation can become an assist. One missed assignment can ignite the crowd. Throughout WNBA history, defenses have adjusted to dominant post players. Defenses have adjusted to elite slashers. But Caitlin Clark stretches defensive attention farther from the basket than almost anyone before her. That changes everything. Nate Tibbetts repeatedly referenced film study because film becomes essential against players like Caitlin Clark. You cannot rely solely on athleticism. You cannot rely solely on physicality. You need discipline. And discipline becomes increasingly difficult once emotions enter the game. The fourth quarter tension revealed exactly how mentally exhausting these battles can become. Alyssa Thomas and Nate Tibbetts know another game is coming. That means another night of adjustments. Another night of pressure. Another night of attempting to slow one of the most influential young stars the league has ever seen.
I mean, this is no different than what a playoff setting is about. You play the first two games at home, and you might lose the first one, and it's about making adjustments to try to get one on their court. So, that's what we're focused on.
Answer that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that would be another game, another chance to do better. We're gonna have the film, as AT said, and we're just gonna come here ready, and we're gonna play the game.
This is no different than, ready and yeah, we're going. Perhaps the most revealing comment came when the matchup was compared to a playoff series. That statement changes the entire context. Nate Tibbetts and Alyssa Thomas weren't treating this as a random regular season game. They were discussing adjustments. Film study, countermoves, responses, those are playoff concepts. For the Indiana Fever, that represents enormous progress. Caitlin Clark has accelerated expectations for the entire franchise. Opponents are preparing for Indiana as though they are facing a postseason threat. That changes roster evaluations. That changes coaching priorities. That changes championship calculations. The Fever suddenly occupy a different tier of attention. Alyssa Thomas understands this. Nate Tibbetts understands this. The rest of the WNBA understands this. Every successful performance by Caitlin Clark increases pressure on opposing franchises. Every nationally discussed matchup increases scrutiny. Every headline generates more attention. The financial impact is obvious. The ratings impact is obvious. The ticket demand is obvious. But the basketball impact may be even greater. Because if Caitlin Clark continues forcing veteran teams into playoff-style preparation during the regular season, Indiana gains valuable experience faster than expected. That possibility should concern every contender. Nate Tibbetts knows the Mercury must respond. Alyssa Thomas knows the Mercury must respond because another opportunity is coming. And if Caitlin Clark continues evolving, every future meeting could carry even higher stakes.